The WNBA is getting dangerously close to a make-or-break moment in its labor negotiations. And if you've been following the league's momentum lately, this timing couldn't be bigger. With only days left before the January 9th deadline, the league and the Women's National Basketball Players Association are still not across the finish line on a new collective bargaining agreement. And that has the start of the 2026 season sitting under a real cloud of uncertainty. At the same time, it's not pure panic right now, because there's also a clear sense that the season can still get off the ground even if a full, long-term deal isn't signed by that date. What's interesting is the tone coming from both sides publicly. You're not hearing anybody slam the door or act like everything is about to collapse overnight. The messaging has been consistent. Negotiations are ongoing and they plan to keep talking. And more importantly, there's a growing expectation that basketball operations can continue on schedule while the bigger issues get worked out at the table. That doesn't mean everything is fine. It just means both the WNBA and the WNBPA seem prepared for a scenario where the calendar hits January 9th without a brand new agreement. And the work continues anyway. Breanna Stewart, who isn't just a superstar for New York Liberty, but also the WNBPA vice president, was pretty blunt when she was asked about the timeline after a recent practice. She didn't dress it up. She didn't try to sell false hope. She said, "We're not going to come to an agreement by tomorrow, I can tell you that. We're just going to continue to negotiate in good faith." That's about as direct as it gets. And honestly, it tells you where things are emotionally. The players are locked in, they're realistic, and they're not backing away from the process even if the deadline comes fast. Stewart's comments also land harder when you remember how long this has been going on. This isn't a quick disagreement that popped up last month. The talks have been dragging for more than 14 months, going all the way back to October 2024. When the players formally opted out of the previous CBA. That choice changed the entire temperature of negotiations. Opting out isn't something you do for fun. It's a sign the players believe the old structure wasn't keeping up with what the league has become, and they wanted a reset. But when you pull that lever, the next step is complicated, because now you're not just adjusting a few details. You're trying to rebuild the foundation. And based on recent reporting, one of the big issues right now is that the WNBA has not formally responded to the union's most recent proposal. That package, as it's been described, includes a major demand, players receiving 30% of gross league revenue. It also includes a proposed team salary cap of about $10.5 million. You don't have to be a cap expert to hear $10.5 million and understand why that number would instantly become a central battleground. It's not just a raise, it's a major shift in what team payroll could look like. And the league reportedly has concerns about long-term financial sustainability, if that's the direction things go. This is where negotiation gets really technical, but also really emotional, because it's not just about one number. The core fight is about the revenue sharing model and how the salary structure should reflect the league's growth. Players look at the WNBA's rising visibility, the bigger crowds, the louder cultural footprint, and the expanding business opportunities. And they want to share that matches what they feel they're helping build. On the league side, officials are countering with an alternative framework that doesn't just argue about percentage, but also about what counts in the first place. The league's approach reportedly redefines how net revenue is calculated versus gross income. And that distinction matters a lot because it changes the base that any percentage is applied to. If you're wondering why gross versus net becomes such a huge deal, it's because it's basically the difference between splitting a bigger pie or a smaller one. Gross revenue is the big, top-line number before certain costs are taken out. Net revenue is what's left after certain subtractions. So when one side says we want a percentage of gross and the other side says we need to look at net, you can already see why this turns into a standoff. The players aren't just asking for a higher cut. They're also pushing for the cut to come from the cleanest, least flexible definition possible. Meanwhile, the league is trying to build a structure that it believes makes financial sense over the long run. That tug-of-war is one of the main reasons these WNBA-CBA negotiations have felt so stuck. To really understand why this is boiling over now, you have to look at the current salary reality and how far it is from what the players are pushing for. Last season, the highest paid players were at a maximum salary of $249,244, with stars like Kelsey Mitchell and Jewel Lloyd hitting that top number. At the other end, minimum salaries were around $66,000, and the average base salary was $102,249. Put yourself in the position of a player hearing those numbers while also hearing constant talk about growth and expansion. Even if you're not the kind of fan who studies contracts, you can see why the union believes this moment should come with a major recalibration. And that's why you've seen the players take steps to show unity. In late December, the players voted overwhelmingly to authorize the WNBP Executive Committee to call for a strike when necessary, and that passed with 93% approval. That number matters. A vote like that isn't just about the possibility of walking out tomorrow. It's leverage, it's a signal, and it's also a test of solidarity. When you get 93% on something this serious, it tells the league the players are not scattered, not divided, and not easily pressured into taking a deal they don't believe reflects their value. It's also worth saying clearly that strike authorization was framed as leverage, not an immediate countdown to chaos. The point is to strengthen the union's position at the table, especially if the players feel like the financial conversation isn't matching what they're seeing in real time. From the players' perspective, the league is in a new era, and the compensation system should look like a new era too. From the league perspective, there's a responsibility to build a model that can last not just for one season, but for the next decade. Both of those goals can be true, and they can still collide head-on. Now here's the part that makes this even more intense. The WNBA isn't having this conversation in a quiet period. The league is planning for expansion in 2026, with new franchises slated for Portland and Toronto. That's a massive statement about where the WNBA believes it's headed. Expansion isn't just adding teams. It's new markets, new business plans, new staffing, new logistics, and a bigger spotlight. And when you pair expansion plans with labor uncertainty, it naturally raises questions. How does a high-stakes labor dispute affect business momentum? How do sponsors, partners, and fans interpret the stability of the league during a pivotal growth window? Nobody wants that shadow hanging over what should be a celebration of the WNBA getting bigger. So what happens next? The honest answer is, the negotiations keep going, and they keep going with real pressure on both sides. The league doesn't want disruption, especially not with expansion, rising attention, and everything that comes with a bigger 2026 season. The players don't want to lose momentum either, but they also don't want to sign something they view as another missed opportunity. And with the January 9th deadline approaching, the tension isn't just about whether a document gets signed by a certain date. It's about whether both sides can find a framework that makes sense financially and feels fair culturally, because the WNBA is no longer operating in the nice little league category that some people used to lazily place it in. The audience is bigger, the conversation is louder, and the stakes are higher. What I keep coming back to is how calm, but firm, the public posture has been. When someone like Breanna Stewart says straight up that an agreement isn't coming immediately, but she emphasizes continuing to negotiate in good faith, that's not resignation. That's positioning. It tells you the players are prepared for this to take time, and they're not going to be rushed into a deal just because a deadline is looming. At the same time, the fact that league and union officials appear ready to start basketball operations as scheduled while continuing talks is a sign that both sides understand the cost of blowing this up. They can disagree intensely on revenue sharing, salary cap levels, and how to define the money, but still recognize that keeping the league functioning matters. If you're a fan, this is one of those moments where it's easy to get pulled into the drama of it all, because it's the WNBA and the WNBPA staring each other down with a ton of money and principle on the line. But it's also a reminder that this is how professional sports grows up. The league's ambitions are getting bigger. The players' expectations are rising with it, and the systems that worked before are being challenged. The dispute over gross versus net revenue isn't just accounting language. It's the battle over what the player's contribution means in dollar terms. The debate over a $10.5 million team salary cap isn't just a number. It's a statement about what kind of league the WNBA wants to be, and how quickly it can realistically become that. And for anyone wondering whether the strike authorization means we're definitely headed for a work stoppage, that's not what's being said. It's power at the bargaining table, and it's a message that the players are willing to escalate if they feel boxed in. But right now, the outward signals still point to continued negotiations. continued planning, and effort to avoid major disruptions while the bigger agreement takes shape. The next few days are going to be huge, not because everything magically resolves by January 9th, but because whatever happens around that deadline will shape the leverage, the urgency, and the public narrative. If the league responds to the union's latest proposal, that alone can change the temperature, even if it doesn't produce a final deal. If the sides remain far apart on revenue sharing and the salary cap structure, the pressure ramps up again. And all of this is happening while the WNBA is trying to step into 2026 bigger than ever, with Portland and Toronto on the way, and the whole business side watching carefully. No matter where you land on the numbers, the one thing that's hard to deny is that this is a defining phase for the WNBA. The players are pushing for what they believe is a fair share of the league's financial growth. The league is trying to manage that push while protecting what it sees as sustainability. And the fans are watching, hoping the focus stays on the basketball, even as the biggest behind-the-scenes fight and the sport inches toward a deadline. If you want to stay on top of WNBA CBA updates, WNBPA strike news, revenue sharing negotiations, and everything tied to the 2026 season and expansion into Portland and Toronto, keep your eyes on what both sides do next, not just what they say. The words have been measured so far. The next moves are where the real